And to know that that was a former slave auction. And honestly, folks, in the South, anytime that you see a body of water, that you see ferries, that you see a port, no, not 9 times out of 10, but 15 times out of 10, that's where our people were enslaved. That's where our people were taken to. That's where our people were sold on the market, on that auction block. And to know that that energy is still there. And to see the entitlement of the white people is nothing new. But I think that this is something that's necessary. And honestly speaking, if you felt uncomfortable as a black person watching that video, if that video made you feel scared, I think that you have to look in the mirror. Good people, what's up, what's good, man? Blessed be host Caleb Smith. We are back with another edition of Chillin With Caleb. Boy, oh man, it's been one hell of a week. So this is going to be our somewhat week in review. If you guys have been living under a rock, and even if you've been living under a rock, you guys already know about the brawl in Montgomery, Alabama. Shout out to my guy Aquaman, who they say. But I know that everybody has had their own takes on the situation. You know, I took this weekend to observe, to learn, to watch, and just see what's going on and what people had to say. So now it's my turn to take the mic, give my own 2 cents. As you guys know, man, Chilling with Caleb is a time for us to kick back, hear my own thoughts and perspectives. You know, you guys get to see our interviews and sit downs with some legends, man. And, you know, Chilling with Caleb is supposed to serve as a breath of fresh air to pick my brain and us just chop it up as a family, one-on-one, if you will. When I first saw the video, I had everybody who was sending it to me. I guess I'm known as like the militant one amongst the friend group and the family. But when I saw that video, a meme that embodied it perfectly was the meme of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when he was smiling with the glasses, had the hand up like this. And boy, I felt the same exact way. Seeing that, I think that people get this common misconception of the South, if you will, and specifically of the Deep South, that it's a passive group of people, or that we're slow-minded, or that we aren't quick on our feet or intelligent. And I think what so many people tend to forget is whether you're from Chicago, LA, Detroit, New York, even DMV sometimes, you got roots in the Deep South, whether it's from Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. Shout out to the Gullah Geechee people. We got roots in the South, man. And that fighting spirit has always been present. I know that people constantly see the Dr. Martin Luther King videos and the We Shall Overcome, and that Brother Malcolm, he was up north, and that truly represented the mindset of the North, and the passive, pacifist, turn the other cheek represented the South. But what people truly don't understand is that Martin had the dope boys with him too. He might have not been carrying, but he had people around him who were carrying. You had the Deacons of Defense as well. So you had militant groups. H. Rap Brown of the Black Panther Party was located down here in Atlanta, Georgia. So Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, these people aren't passive people. Just because you had Jim Crow laws and all these other things going on, it does not mean that our people were not resistant. Lo and behold, they were. They always had a spirit of resistance. If you will, that FBA energy was always strong. Our people have always been a strong militant people. And our people have always fought back. It's just now that we have the cell phones, and not only do we have the cell phones, we can control the narrative and we can actually display what's going on in real time. And it doesn't have to be displayed from a white-owned platform such as your NBC, CBS's, Fox's, CNN's, whoever. Instead, you can get it from Devontae, JJ, Mimi. You can get it from people who look just like me and you, pulling up that phone, showing it in real time. And to know that that was a former slave auction. And honestly, folks, in the South, anytime that you see a body of water, that you see ferries, that you see a port, no, not 9 times out of 10, but 15 times out of 10, that's where our people were enslaved. That's where our people were taken to. That's where our people were sold on the market, on that auction block. And to know that that energy is still there. And to see the entitlement of the white people is nothing new. But I think that this is something that's necessary. And honestly speaking, if you felt uncomfortable as a black person watching that video, if that video made you feel scared, I think that you have to look in the mirror. Because these same people have no issue or quarrel with having to kill us, having to sell our body parts, saving it as memorabilia. Do you not know what they did to Nat Turner? Turn his skin into a purse. So for our people to fight back and for it to be displayed of us fighting back, that should make you feel proud. Because for any group of people on the face of this planet, you eventually do have to fight back. If your child was being bullied at school, you would eventually step up as a parent and say, hey, you need to fight back. Because if you don't, that bully is going to continuously take advantage of you. White supremacist America and white America as a whole is our bully. It's an uncomfortable racial conversation, but it's necessary that needs to happen. See, white America has to understand when you see this video, you should feel scared. You should be worried. And I'm not saying that in a way of trying to spook you out or anything like that, but I'm saying that to say that you should be worried of the actions and the transgressions of the people who came before you. Although you can say that I'm not at fault, you reap the benefits of the people who came before you. Although you can say that my people weren't here during the time of slavery, but your people did assimilate into whiteness. And you have to do your own due diligence and to study and to show thyself approved, if you will, of knowing what's going on and what created this environment. Now with the chair, shout out to the chair being smacked. People talk about Aquaman swimming across. All I saw was brave spirits. And although people laughed and of course it was funny and the memes, that's who our people are. We're a funny loving people, but also we are a resilient, a revolutionary, and a fighting people as well. And although we can take our jokes, we have to seriously observe what's going on and to observe it as something that is serving as a microcosm of the day and time that is of this moment right now. Of that our generation, our people are tired. Our people have seen what our grandparents went through. Even in my own family and so many other families here in the South, you know of people who've been lynched. You know of your great-grandparents who were sharecroppers. So in the South, it's a different type of energy, man. Every single time I talk to people that's not from Georgia or in the deep South, and they say, man, when I'm driving through South Georgia or when I'm driving through Brunswick or to Savannah, and when I see those cotton fields, I feel a spirit come over me. Because that spirit is real. And that spirit is still on our people, the spirit of our ancestors, of what they went through. Imagine someone driving every single day and you're driving past the gas chambers that your people died in. And it's still up. It's a plantation house. It's where people get married. It's where people have festivals. It's where people have their cookouts. And it's still there. A graveyard, basically, where our people's spirits were broken, where they were buck broken, where their spirits were broken, where they were raped, where they were killed, died on those fields, bloodshed on those fields, tried to escape, bodies mutilated. So then you have to deal with that, but also you have to deal with the memory of the land. Shout out to Ann Hill Bond. Ann Hill, her interview was amazing. Sister Ann Hill Bond is one of the greatest journalists, one of the greatest Atlanta historians that you can ever come across here in the city of Atlanta. Whenever you guys get the chance, check out that interview. But Ann, she spoke about the true purpose of land memory, right? Land memory is something where there's memory in the land, right? And she told this story of this young man who was lynched, I think, in the Athens, Georgia area. So for the people that's not too familiar with Athens, Georgia, UGA football, that's Athens, Georgia. It's about 2 hours east of here in Atlanta. So in Athens, this young man was lynched and his body was dragged and he was killed, I think, 4 miles to the east, 4 miles to the west, south, and north throughout Athens. A tornado then came, and that exact direction and route that his body took when he was tortured, and it destroyed the town. Tariq Nasheed had a great broadcast on Land Memory 2 and hoodoo practices, and the same things would happen where our ancestors would come back and destroy lands or towns that they were tortured in and killed in. So I say that to say, people talk about Lake Lanier here in Georgia. People starting to create that buzz of knowing about Oscarville, and it was a town that was flooded. So there's memory in the water, too. There's scientific studies to prove this. We had KT, the arts degree, on our podcast as well, talking about this, too. So if we got memory in the water, got memory in the land, and we go to Deep South, Montgomery, Alabama, whether you're talking about a time of enslavement, the civil rights movement, that body of water where our people were sold, that body of land where our people were tortured and killed and put on the auction block. The ancestors, their spirits still vibrate through those waters and on that land. So the same way you see Lake Lanier and weird things happening, Montgomery, Alabama, the people got the spirit from their ancestors. That memory, that trauma, that pride, that strength, that resiliency is passed in through our DNA and also through the water, through the land. And that was vengeance. And see, what people have to understand is that this world is of balance. Us being the safe, docile people, those days are no more. And honestly, those days never were. We're just told those stories to keep you safe and docile. We're not going to tell you about the Nat Turners, the Harriet Tubmans, and so many other great, resilient black folk in the 1800s, 1700s, the Marvises. I can't tell you about those stories. I can't tell you about the people who were resilient, like the Deacons of Defense in the South in the 1960s and 50s. I can't tell you too much about H. Rap Brown here in Atlanta. Let me tell you about Martin Luther King. And no slight to the great Dr. Martin Luther King. I won't tell you about Dr. Martin Luther King wanting reparations, cash reparations and land. I want an economic change as well. I can't tell you too much about that. Let me just tell you about I Have a Dream. So this video is us writing our own history books, not the Daughters of Confederacy who impacted our history books, or McGraw-Hill and these white-owned establishments. Brother Malcolm, he once said that we can expect our oppressors to teach us. So when we see what's going on in Florida with critical race theory and all these other things, you can't expect for your enslavers to teach you how to be free. And not only to teach you how to be free, but to also teach them that you taught them civilization. That's not in my own best interest. I can't tell you how great you are, because then if I do, you'll wake up. So these cell phones, these cameras, these microphones that we have, let's use it to the best of our abilities to tell and control our own narratives. And we saw that happening in real time. That's why that Montgomery Brawl, if you will, was so significant. I'll call it Montgomery Beatdown. It's significant not because of Aquaman or the chairs, the swimming, the fights. Is significant because of the cell phone, because of the media that we control now, that we can post on our own terms, and to show our people, if we're doing it here in Montgomery, Alabama, stand up for yourself in LA, stand up for yourself in Seattle, stand up for yourself in Houston, and Dallas, New York, Chicago, Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte, DC. Stand up for yourself. And not only stand up for yourself, but be on code and know that we got each other's backs. We're not a violent people, but we're also a people that we love one another. So when we see one of our brothers or sisters being violated, it's up to us to stand up for our people. And don't let any white supremacist or any person from another culture make you feel bad about doing so, because they did the same for each other, even when it wasn't even necessary. Talk about the Boston Tea Party, the American Revolution. You did what you deemed was necessary for your people. The Civil War. It is a human's right to preserve oneself and to preserve their people. And for so long, we've dealt with so much, and we've been a peaceful people, and we still remain so. But it's our own duty to protect the futures of our people, and to also show you that you can't violate us, and you can't violate anybody else either. We must stand on our squares. We must stay vigilant. We must stay intelligent. Stand on your square. But know that this is just the beginning. And when I say this is just the beginning, I'm not saying that in a sense of violence, but I'm saying that in a sense of us standing up for ourselves. And another quick note that connects, Jamie Foxx. Our brother Jamie Foxx, the whole debacle about if they kill Jesus, what do you think that they'll do to me? I think that it's very necessary for the people of the Jewish community to understand that that is a saying that's said amongst the black community, and that's not an anti-Semitic thing. Jennifer Aniston, that was crazy with her saying that I didn't mean to post this by accident. What are you talking about? And I think for our brother Jamie and so many black acts in Hollywood to understand that, A, that's not anti-Semitic, and I'm proud of seeing our people on code of backing Jamie Foxx, but Jamie should have never apologized for that. And for so long, our people have been bullied by the Jewish community. And this is case in point. And I want for our brothers and our community and sisters to understand, and I want for the people in the Jewish community to understand this fact as well. Your hypersensitivity And finding things to deem as anti-Semitic is very predatory. And for you to deem that anti-Semitic, and if you're that sensitive over something that's not even deemed towards you, just imagine what black people go through. For black people to have to, like what I talked about earlier in Montgomery, Alabama, here and in the Deep South, in Mississippi and Georgia, Louisiana, and so many other spaces, to go to high schools and middle schools that's named after white supremacists who enslaved your people, exchange money of our enslavers with their names and faces on there, and to then drive through cotton fields and past cotton fields and plantations where white people were getting married at on TikTok, and having Airbnbs and still profiting on that land where our ancestors died and made this country billions and trillions of dollars that we have yet to receive cash payments or reparations for, unlike your people. And to also know that your people enslaved our people and helped purchase the slave ships and even served as some of our slave masters. So last time I checked, you guys do not have to drive to your schools that are named after Nazis. You don't have to drive past gas chambers while you're here in America that your people died in. And then you're told that that's so long ago and to get over it and stop using it as an excuse. So next time you try to search and journey for something to be anti-Semitic, I first want for you to realize that you're also being anti-black. And further going deep, Jesus was a black man. We can go through various books of the Bible where the people are black people and described as black people. So that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But we have to be unafraid and we can't be scared because we have to understand that we have the ancestors on our side. If I'm deemed as anti-Semitic, so be it. But I will be deemed as that before I let my community be bullied into things that's not even true. Our people are such a loving people, a tolerable people. For our people to still be here and to not have had a revolution of trying to overthrow the government like the people of January 6th. And instead we fight in your wars. Instead we work in your economy. And we do everything possible. We make you money on the basketball court, the football fields, entertainment. And all we want is just a peaceful environment and to go home safely and to be with our people. So, Jamie Foxx, stand on your square, brother. And our people stand on your square. And understand and know our value and that we are the secret sauce that keeps this thing going. Our culture is America's biggest export. And we must be unapologetic about our purpose and who we are as a people. While talking to the great Dan Moore Sr. of the Apex Museum, chopping it up with him, he told me he who controls the media controls the mind. And it's up to us to control our own narratives, to control our own thought process in the media. Stand on your square, stand on your purpose. Thank y'all for tapping in for another edition of Chillin with Caleb. Man, keep being creative, unleash your creative genius, tap in with the podcast. We got more dope content on the way. It's always a pleasure. I love y'all. Until next time, peace.